Good morning. Hi, my name is Emily. I'm a faithful follower of Christ. I'm addicted to sugar, flour, and binging. And my YouTube channel is all about my experience following both Jesus Christ as a disciple and the Bright Line Eating Program by Susan Pierce Thompson, which has been life-changing for me, to say the least. That would be an understatement. Or maybe that's the perfect statement. My life has been changed. I'm forever grateful to Susan and God. And in the midst of the gratitude, I am happy to share some of my experience, but I also share it to help me stay on my path. So I am finding that in my YouTube channel description, I say life is a process, let's process it together, which is truly what we're doing. And I love hearing back and forth back with you guys. I just was talking to Talita this morning, or typing. I was typing with her. Up underneath my I Just Binged video, she left a comment that she's now on day 14 of our 35-day commitment. And this is just a blessing, traveling together and being able to go back and forth and bounce ideas off each other, etc., etc. Today's video is, and I don't make a video every day, but seems like I have been for a while. I don't know, some days I make more than one video. Again, these videos help me. It's somewhat like a live diary, and it is a public live diary. So imagine how much the public accountability helps. Probably more than I can imagine. I'm about to chat about stress hormones, toxins, water, sleep, and humility. One of these things is not like the other, but one of these things, the humility part, is a big relief. And, oh, I'm pulled over and there's a truck wanting to pull in. I need to back up. Hold on. Okay, so that truck. Somebody looking for my husband. Here's something funny. The person looking for my husband used to be one of my students. Now they're grown men driving trucks with, he's got looks like a girlfriend or a wife sitting next to him. Okay. Anyways, my old students now have beards and trucks. And I can say that because they were almost, oh, never mind. That kid went to a different school. I think he was in one of my classes, but let's get back to this. So the humility part is a big deal. It's a wonderful relief to know that we are on a need-to-know basis. And God He only tells us what we need to know, and we really don't need to know that much, right? Am I right? Okay, let's hop into this. But first, how about a picture of some little calves. Actually, they're big calves. They're doing good. They used to be bottle calves. Okay, so let's jump right into this. Obviously, I've snuck away from the house, kid-free, dog-free. I'm running a couple errands, and my husband would probably like for me to get back as soon as possible. I want to talk to you guys about some science, just some science that helps me so much, and I'm happy to share it with you because it helps us with this whole big picture of what we're dealing with. And yes, we are dealing with a very spiritual battle in nature. Ephesians 6:12, we are not battling flesh, we are battling the enemy. But the enemy will use our flesh, and it all works together. So let's talk about our flesh. Let's talk about the science. I had a friend once tell me, it was a very, very nice compliment. She said, Emily, you take what you learn and apply it to your life. And I was like, why, thank you. And I especially aim to do that with this book here, the Bible. I aim to do that. That's what I'm aiming to do right now. I am very, very close to losing 100 pounds. And I'm being patient with my body and letting it do its thing, because we cannot force these bodies to perform. We have to convince them to perform. They have a mind of their own. They really do. And they are going to do what they find necessary to keep us safe. They're either going to store fat or release fat in an effort to keep us safe from the apparent stressors in our lives. And I'm going to share with you all very quickly some tidbits, some little bits and pieces that I've learned over the years from different YouTube videos or different books or things that have really stuck with me over the years. Probably 15 years I've been on this journey of researching, again, little bits and pieces, because there's such a wealth of information. That's the kind of TMI I'm talking about. When I talk about TMI, just, I'm not going to say maybe SMI, just so much information. In fact, in order to give some credit where credit is due, I was hoping to find a video that I watched years ago that taught me what I'm going to teach you about carbohydrates. And when I went looking, so I'm going to add that down here to what I said we were going to talk about. When I went looking online for that video, scroll. There's so many videos now about the difference between carbohydrates and sugar. And I wanted to give that girl some credit. And you're just going to have to know who you are, which would be very hard because there's probably a million videos that say this same little bit of information. One that I can credit is John Gabriel with the Gabriel method. He taught me a lot about why our bodies store or release fat. And he broke it down to like, they're either going to store fat. It's all related to stress. So they're going to store fat thinking, oh, we need extra fat because there's a famine coming or there's cold temperatures coming. Like way before 2021. And or we need to release this fat because we're going to get chased around by a saber-toothed tiger. It's all relative to the stress in our life and whether or not our body believes that it needs fat or doesn't need fat. So again, we cannot force our bodies to perform. We have to convince them to perform. And I had a couple stressful days especially, and I know that my body was holding on to water in an effort to help me. But the weight retention was not helping that number on the scale. So I've got to say, it's okay, body. It's okay. And I've got to do all sorts of things to help release, help my body. I need to help my body. My body is saying, help me, help you. Susan Pierce Thompson's last vlog is excellent about weight creep and maintenance. She talks about that set point and how our bodies, again, they have a mind of their own. They have a weight that they want to be at. And we have to, oh so gently, but pretty persistently, convince them otherwise if we want them to release the fat. So I do try to take things that I've learned over the years and apply them to this journey. I tell my kids, people think they want to succeed, but I promise you, before success, before these things you might be after, and I pray to God my kids don't chase what this world has to offer. I mean, how short would being rich and famous, that would just fall flat, and it does, and we see it all the time. That is not the source of joy and peace. So again, but as we really aim to succeed in life, however you define that, and I define that by being perfectly obedient to God, because He has Jeremiah 29:11. He's got my plans figured out. He's got my path figured out, and it's way better, way cooler, way more rewarding and meaningful than anything I would come up with. But before success, the goal has to be to function. We have to function. And I see that in, I'll tell you something that comes to mind is people that struggle with hoarding. I have never seen a study on this, but I would be willing to bet that there's a strong correlation between people that struggle with hoarding and having high IQs, because each object has almost infinite purpose. But again, clinging to each object, including trash, will create a scenario of dysfunction, or at least not functioning the way I want to. So we want to be able to function, and I have been very grateful that I have said before, I'm grateful for things getting bad enough. And what I mean by that is I have struggled with mental health issues that got bad enough that I was not able to function. And I ended up, by the grace of God and with my excellent parents and living in an affluent area with excellent resources and doctors and healthcare. What a blessing it is to be born here, you guys, with access and ability to things like YouTube videos, not something to be taken for granted. So I am so grateful for the care that I received as a 19-year-old kid when things got bad enough. And I see people where they didn't get bad enough. They were able to just kind of like make their way and muster on through, and or muster the energy or the efforts, or do what they had to do to sort of get by, to where things never got so bad that they weren't able to function. So they did for me. I was not able to function, and I've spent time in a hospital. I've spent time across from therapists. I'm grateful to function. So that is a super, a fairly long intro into these tidbits of information I want to share with you that might help you on your journey. And let's see. People ask me, Emily, do you feel better? Do you feel better now that you've lost 100 pounds? And I want to tell you that I feel better in ways that I could not have anticipated, because I feel better hormonally, and that's what we're going to talk about. I feel better. My body is able to function in a way that it has not been able to. It's been doing its best to process and deal with everything I've been chewing and swallowing for 15 years. And now that I've stopped doing that to this body, which is abuse, it's abusing these bodies that we're in. I'm functioning better in ways I couldn't have imagined. And that's why I'm happy to share this with you guys. It is so much more than smaller jeans. It is so much more than fun shopping trips. And I used to tell women that I was leading, you can eat whatever you want. You can eat whatever you want. The goal and the objective here is to change what you want. And I cannot tell you not to eat sugar and flour. You have to tell yourself that. I cannot tell you not to drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes or consume caffeine, or the list goes on and on and on. You have got to get to the point where you can tell yourself that. And I sat across from a therapist once and told her, I want to make a bumper sticker that says, don't believe everything you think. Just because you thought it, just because the chemical flashed through your brain and gave you this thought, does not mean that it's right. Part of functioning is developing the ability to discern the truth in our minds, which is why I fill myself with the truth, Jesus Christ. John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And it's why I have God help me navigate my own thoughts, because again, part of functioning is the ability to tell your own brain you're wrong. You're wrong. That thought is wrong. I have been diagnosed with a couple things. I don't care to be diagnosed with any more. I've been diagnosed with plenty, but I recognize little moments of something like OCD, where I may be feeling like I want to go back in and check the light switches again, or even yesterday at the sporting goods store, I went around this clearance rack, and I felt like the need to go around it again, just like some type of like little ordered or ritualistic or behavioral or repetitive things. And I allow God, the Holy Spirit, to discern and lead me in those moments. And if I'm feeling the urge to like do something one more time or check something one more time, I pray to God and ask him, I discern whether or not I should. And there are times that I do, because it's, let's say I went back in, I remember this once clearly, I went back in my house to check the oven one more time. And it was in doing that God reminded me that I had forgotten something. We were getting ready to travel back home when my husband was in law school. I had forgotten something. Had I not gone back in to go through those things, I would not have been given the gift of those new thoughts of, oh my gosh, I totally forgot this thing in my bedroom and I ran and got it. Other times I'll discern, nope, leave it. Don't check those clothes one more time. Keep moving. And I just pray to God to help me never think about it again. And I don't, except for now. I just thought about it again from yesterday. You get my point. These minds are complex. Humility is one thing I want to talk about because let's go ahead and talk about that now. We'll jump right into that. I'm going to run an errand. I'll be back with you. And let's start with humility. Okay, bye. Okay, so I'm here in a waiting room of this Chevrolet dealer while I get a key made for my car. I'm going to see if I can get some of this recorded here. If somebody walks in here, I'm in a little waiting room. If somebody walks in here, I'm going to have to quit talking. Or maybe they'll be interested to hear all about stress hormones. Okay, so humility. I tell people humble does not mean having a low self-esteem. So people misuse that word when they say like, oh, you're real humble. Well, humble doesn't mean I have to think I'm like a piece of dirt. And again, I don't mean me. I just mean each other. People don't exactly say that to me, but we can be grateful for what we have. Okay, I'm finished at the Chevrolet dealer. That was not working. I was trying to talk so quiet, and I could tell somebody was like right around the corner stocking waters, and I thought, this is not gonna work. So what I was saying is, humble does not mean we have low self-esteem. It means we know who gets the credit. And while we can be grateful for what we have, we cannot take ultimate credit for it, even if you've worked your whole life for it. You needed things that you could not have given yourself, like your brain, like your hands, like your the body that God chose to put you in, the country that He had you be born in. So while we can be grateful for what we have, we've got to recognize that it was given to us. And I am not sharing all this to preach to you. I'm sharing all this just to let you know where I'm coming from, which is a place of humility and knowing who gets the credit, which is the creator, not the creation. So let me show you the scripture that comes to mind with regards to all of this. By the way, I've got my Bible propped up on my legs here. That's not something I could do 100 pounds ago. Crossed my legs up under the steering wheel. Okay, I cheated and lifted it, but you get my point. All right, hooray for living in a smaller body. So comfortable. Here's the scripture. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 2. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. And speaking of all of this knowledge that I've gained over the years, which is truly bits and pieces, I like this quote: knowledge causes humility, arrogance causes ignorance. And I wrote here, I love this: humble me, Lord, keep my balloon deflated. I do mean that, and I mean that in more ways than one. I like how I've heard before, breathe yourself out and the Holy Spirit in, be filled with the Spirit. I wanted to see if I could remember that, and I did. Ephesians 5:18, do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit. So again, when I pray to God and ask Him to keep this balloon deflated, I just mean it in more ways than one. And let's jump right into the physical stuff going on with these bodies that we're in. So for starters, what I heard years ago is that we only use about 10% of our brain, which again, reinforces the idea that we truly know very little. But I'm going to share with you tidbits of what I know, and maybe it'll help you on your journey. It's helped me quite a bit. So here I go. I have a bit to share about the little bit that I know. Cortisol and adrenaline. These are stress hormones. So adrenaline raises our heart rate. It raises our blood pressure. And I've got little notes here. And it boosts our energy supply. I've talked to y'all about I've ended up with adrenal fatigue a few times, which is why I am over 2 years off caffeinated coffee. It was causing me problems that I don't have time for, or I certainly don't want to spend time on. Adrenaline versus cortisol. So imagine that these are hormones that are like the fight or flight, that are there when we need them to help us get through major stressors. Cortisol, it raises the sugar in our bloodstream, and it raises our ability for our brain to use glucose, and it raises the availability of substances to repair tissue. The reason I'm distinguishing between the two is because I learned years ago that when cortisol and insulin are both high, we are in fat storage mode. So insulin is released when we ingest sugar of any type, and it's like a little taxi cab that takes the sugar takes it right into our bloodstream. When cortisol and insulin are both high, we're in fat storage mode. So we want to be careful that in times of stress, we don't turn to sugar, or we will be in fat storage mode. We can just know that, we can count on it, and we can let that be a motivator not to turn to sugar and flour for comfort in these times of great stress, or we will absolutely be headed backwards with regards to what our goals are, which is, for a lot of us, weight loss. So again, I cannot tell you don't do it. And for one thing, because I am working so hard. I mean, look, it's all I can do. I realized months ago, I cannot keep other people's lines bright. And I, with really good intentions, was trying for a couple ladies that kept coming to me, and they're like, Emily, oh my gosh, help me out. I want to do what you're doing. I want to achieve what you've achieved. So I was like, okay, let me help you. And the more I helped them, the more I binged. I was really, I realized these are very smart women. They can do what I did. They can research, they can saturate themselves. A lot of people say they want what you have, but then in the same breath, I love it, they're very honest about being unwilling to do what you've done. And I can't do it for them. I can't do it for you. Trust me when I say this brain is addicted, and it's all I can do to keep my own lines bright. So when I won't tell you don't do these things, but I will share, don't eat sugar and flour when you're stressed, blah, 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 blah. That's what I'm trying not to do, right? But what I can do is share with you some huge motivations that I have learned and gleaned over the years that might help you make informed choices in the midst of that type of stress. And when the back of your brain, when you're stressed out and you're not breathing, and you go from using your prefrontal cortex, which is rational decision making, and you switch and your brain's like, oh, she's stressed, he's stressed, we need to go into like some fight or flight, we need to like start pumping some stress hormones, we need to help her out, so let's deprive oxygen from the front of our brain. She's not really even breathing. Now this is my body talking. She's taking very short breaths. We have limited oxygen. Let's deprive it from these important parts of the front brain, and let's just get it back here to these functional parts of our brain that are just going to keep some motor function alive to keep us alive. We are no longer using rational decision making when that's happening back here. And in the midst of stress, our body is amazing at adapting to the stress and finding ways to help us just survive. But in the midst of stress, if we can breathe, and then some of this will come to mind, it could help us keep heading in the direction we want to go in, instead of in the midst of stress, totally derailing and allowing our bodies to take over instead of our rational minds, which might, our bodies might tell us, we need calories, we need high density, we need, and it's like, hold up. No, we don't. Because the stresses that we're dealing with in 2021 are, our body can't tell the difference between true life-threatening stress and daily stress of daily life, like kids, school, work, exhaustion. Just being exhausted sends our body very clear messages: alert, 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 something's wrong. So 1 Corinthians 9:27, I sincerely, thank you, Paul, I want to be the boss of this body. I want to be able to, in moments of stress, make decisions and take action that will allow me to keep heading in the right direction. So if you turn in the moment of stress to sugar and flour, be aware that you now have cortisol running through your body and loads of insulin. And when those two are present together, your body will be in fat storage mode and will be storing fat. So there's that. Let's talk about toxins. Our bodies have 3 ways of getting rid of toxins: pee, poo, and sweat. And fat cells will never have more than we already have. You don't get more fat cells. They're either swollen or they're not. And over the course of fat storage, your fat cells are storing all this these toxins and these poisons, which is why you feel bad. And we all know how bad being overweight feels. You feel like you're full of poison. You look like you're full of poison. When you look in the mirror, I look like pasty white with some acne, with some grease, I look like my body is filled with poison, and it's because it was. So if our body's going to release toxins from sweat, pee, or poo, then we've got to help it do that, which leads me right into water and sleep. These are all tied together. I'm going to talk quick and go help run the show at home. I just called and talked to one of my kids and said, who's watching Mary? And did anyone feed her? So high five to birth order. And if you are like kid 5, 6, 7, 8, lady told me at church she's kid number 12 and she got left places. Yeah. It doesn't surprise me. I always tell people, if you see my kids in the middle of the street, please tell them to come back home. Help me out. I'll take all the help I can get. So I'm gonna hopefully make this rather quick and then jump back into my life, which this is part of it. Again, a huge part that I am sincerely grateful for. So water, sleep. Did you know that you don't lose weight at the gym? You go to the gym, you work out. The weight is released while you're sleeping. It's why you wake up with a full bladder. Your body has released a lot of these toxins and you're going to pee them out when you wake up. It's why I drink 2 bottles of water every morning. Well, it's part of why. So you wake up and after just breathing all night long, it's just like if I were to clean these glasses and breathe on them, it's why there's water on them. We lose so much water just breathing. So we wake up dehydrated. I want to wake up and rehydrate my body and get water back in there. So we actually lose weight while we're sleeping because that's when our body is feeling confident to let go of all the stored fat because it's getting an opportunity to rest after the stress of the gym. I love that Susan Pierce Thompson talks about keeping your bunny slippers on during the weight loss phase. Our bodies have got, losing weight is stressful. Decreasing your calories is stressful. And if our bodies if they're only getting the message that this is stress, they're going to hold on to that weight. But if you can rest as much as possible and sleep, let your hormones level back out, get all those fight or flight hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, to calm down, but also to sleep and allow your body to release all of this through sweat and urine and bowels moving, and wake up. I always wake up, I've said this so many times, I always wake up and drink 32 ounces of water before I start eating, because I want to help my body continue to deflate. Again, deflating this balloon. So it's toxins, water, and sleep just all go right there together, hand in hand, to release the toxins out of our stored fat cells. Our body's got to trust that while there was some stress, we went to the gym, or we had lower calories than normal yesterday, the sleep sends the message to our bodies that it's okay, you're okay, you can release the fat. And water, water, water. I heard a woman years and years and years ago talking about a patient she was working with that had anorexia. And she said that this patient was not wanting to drink any fluids because she did not want to gain any weight. And this person on this video, it struck me so odd. She seemed so irritated with this woman that was dealing with anorexia, saying, "Hello, fluids push fluids." And she was so irritated talking to the camera that I thought, I'm not sure she's in the right career, if she's that frustrated with her clients. But that always stuck out to me, that fluids push fluids. So if your body is retaining water from the stress of life, ironically, to help your body release the retained water, drink water. Fluids push fluids. Again, that was a little nugget that has helped me lose 100 pounds, but it always stood out to me. I thought, she is openly frustrated with a client. I mean, yes, we're all going to be frustrated. I'm frustrated as a mom a lot. But to just be verbal about that, about her frustration, I thought she might need to stock shelves at Walmart. I don't know. No offense if you stock shelves at Walmart. I'm sure that can be frustrating too, but maybe not quite as much as dealing with other human beings. Anyways, fluids push fluids. So if you're retaining water, drink water. Drink water to get the water to go on through. I noticed this if I've been on vacation, if I have, which vacation can be interpreted by our bodies as stress. We're not in our usual places. We're not in our usual routines. We're not eating our usual foods. It's why you'll notice you go on vacation and you don't poop. You don't poop for like a week because you're like, your body's just not, it's kind of freaking out, holding on to everything. I'll notice that if I have had a few days of stress, I always kind of word it like this, and this is not exact science, but you could drink 20 ounces of water and then pee out 40. I always tell people when they start drinking more and more water, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm in the bathroom all the time. And I'm like, that will level out. That will level out. Just stick with it. Stick with the water drinking. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. So there's all that. Speaking of hydrate, this is one of my favorite little nuggets over the years. Carbohydrates. So again, I watched this video about the difference between carbohydrates and sugar. I'd love to link it below, but I could not find it. There's a plethora of videos like this. Carbohydrate. The hint is in the name. I'm going to scroll that here. Carbohydrate. Grams of carbohydrates hold on to grams of water. So when you eat a bunch of carbs, if you're stressed out and you're eating a bunch of carbs, it's a double whammy because you're going to have all those carbs, which will, if you don't burn them off, will become stored fat. but they're going to cause you to retain water because they cling to water molecules. So if you have had a big bad binge, again, it's why I love drinking water first thing in the morning to sort of like flush out a lot of what happened yesterday or whatever the day before. Even restaurant meals. I ate a gas station meal yesterday and a restaurant meal yesterday, and that comes with added stuff that I'm just happy to start my day hydrating and flushing. But let me encourage you to drink water, but also, hey, in the midst of binges, with regards to all this, as we're wanting to deflate, water is our best friend. So let's see. In the video, by the way, the difference between carbohydrates and sugars, there's refined sugar, there's sugar in fruit. Yay, thumbs up. I love bright line eating. It does not cut out any food groups. We don't want to do that. We don't want to cut out any source of macro or micronutrients. Macro meaning carbs, fats, and proteins. Micro meaning vitamins and minerals that comes from fruits and vegetables. So yes, sugar, just what kind of sugar? And yes, carbs, but what kind of carbs? Simple, refined, we don't want them. We want complex carbs, which is what we're eating on this program, which are the grains. So barley, wheat, rice, my shredded wheat cereal, my bran cereal, my Fiber One, my Ezekiel, potatoes. Yes, 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 yes. I don't know what thumbs up. Yes, yes, yes. On complex carbohydrates. No on simple carbs. And no on refined sugar. No. Again, I'm not telling you, I'm telling me, but if this helps you, hallelujah. Guys, I think that's it. I just wanted to share stress hormones, how they affect our bodies. And when you combine stress and stress hormones and simple carbs or refined sugars, it puts you in fat storage mode. And I'm just happy to empower you with this type of information, this kind of knowledge, so that when you're stressed and you want to turn to sugar and flour, this might be one little thing to help you genuinely not want to. It's my video called When the Cons Finally Outweigh the Pros. What a powerful thing to finally see things clearly enough in the midst of stress and in the midst of life to say, oh, my flesh would love the comfort of that drug, but my brain knows better. So, I hope this helps you. Again, it helps me. And when I edit these videos and I'm listening to them, I'm like, oh, that's some solid advice. That's very good. That's helpful. And I do pray to God that these will be His words and not mine. So a lot of times when I listen to my own videos, it's as if I'm hearing them for the first time, because it's all Him. He is the creator. We are the creation. We were made by Him and for Him. And again, I hope this helps you on your journey. Know that I'm traveling with you. And I love you dearly. We'll talk soon.